Bandits attack Katsina community, kill 8, destroy properties in Kurfi local government area. Labour Party chairman Julius Abure arrested in Edo State. Weeks after violence, destruction of lives and properties, Mangu stakeholders chart a new course for peace. And on the international scene, widow of assassinated Haiti president indicted by authorities over possible involvement. Hello there, and many thanks for joining us on the News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Now the news in full. At least 8 people have been killed after bandits attacked Lamba community in Kurfi local government area of Katsina State. The remains of victims of the attack, which took place on Tuesday evening, have been laid to rest in accordance with Islamic customs. And despite the ongoing efforts by the state government to address the issue of insecurity within the state, this recent incident highlights the urgent need for further action and intervention. Trust TV's Jamil Mabai was present at the burial and reports that massive destruction was inflicted on properties in the affected areas. As at press time, the state government was yet to issue any official statement on the incident. Now joining us on the News Hour is Trust TV reporter in Katsina State, Jamil Mabai, who joins to give an update. Welcome to the News Hour, Jamil. What new developments do you have for us with regards to the earlier attacks? You were at Lamba community and you witnessed the burial and interment of some of those unfortunately killed due to the attack. So what new development?
Okay, this evening I called some of one of my fixers who happens to stay in Birchil community, which is just less than 2 to 3 kilometers from Birchil to where the incidents happened. And he told me that, scores of women, young women are yet to be identified because the attack came at a time when they were not expecting. It came during the evening. The attack, the bandits, came to the community around 6 in the evening, and with the way they came with almost like 50 to 100 bikes, and they cycled the community. And this is a community with, with thousands of people and hundreds of houses. And they began shooting from house to house. And what was striking about the attack was, they came more like a vengeance attack or something, because 8 out of the 10 people killed are elderly people who cannot move from one point to another.
Okay, Jamil, with regards to the community, what did you notice? And so far, has there been any presence recorded from beads, any members of the government institutions or security agencies? What's the situation in the community with regards to security?
So far, the only security personnel, or I can say the people, the security personnel that rendered some help were the vigilante group and the civilian JTF from Maiduguri that are helping. But there is no sign of any police vehicle or police person.
What about reactions? Okay. What about reactions from the police and also from the office of the governor? Of course, we know that in situations like this, the commissioner of police would usually respond or do so through his spokesperson. Has there been any of that form of response?
No response from the police yet, and no response from the government. And this is what is really intriguing, because attacks like these have, they do happen from time to time, pockets of attacks here and there, and the government hardly respond. That is to show you the disintegration between the government and the people. You understand? 10 people have been killed, houses have been burned, a lot of people have been dispersed. The government, the Commissioner of Internal Security that we tried to approach, he said that we should go and talk to the chairman local government. And the chairman local government is not picking his call. The police public relation officer we called, he didn't pick. You sent text message, he did not respond. So at least, you find it very hard on who to go to when issues like this happen. We as journalists now come to think of the people in that quagmire, the people living in those areas.
Indeed, Jamil, you earlier spoke about the presence of vigilantes and members of local security formations being present there in the village. But then again, walk me through this. Do you foresee any situation, or are you confident that the presence of some of these local security agents, such as the vigilantes, the Mbangas, and the likes of those who you met on ground when you went to this community, would be able to forestall or prevent, further attacks? Are you confident, and do you see such confidence, when you were in the community, that the people trust in the capacity of the vigilantes, aside, the police and other organized security operatives coming to this area?
Okay, yes, of course. Because the vigilante is the first point of defense these people have. So the people have more faith, trust in this vigilante than the police or soldiers. And which is quite clear. No presence of police, no presence of any soldier. But when you look around, you see the civilian JTF that came all the way from Maiduguri to help security issues in Katsina, and the vigilante, the upgraded vigilante group we have in Katsina that was trained by an NGO, a concerned NGO, not a government NGO. They trained them and armed them. But mark you, in terms of firepower, you cannot match that of the bandits. So while the vigilante have this pump action gun, the bandits use AK-47. So, if the vigilantes can be, the government can at least in one way or the other upgrade their weapons so that they can match that of the bandits. I tell you, these guys will repel bandits whenever they come.
All right, Jamil.
But in this scenario, the community, they trust this vigilante, they trust the civilian JTF 100% compared to the police and the soldiers. Well, they don't have faith in the police. They don't have faith in soldiers.
We do hope that the police, the soldiers, and indeed the government would respond soon, so we know their position as, to all of the issues, and of course, bringing issues such as this to a conclusive end. But meanwhile, Jamil Mabai, thank you so much for... Yes, indeed. But then again, we would have to circle back to you subsequently, Jamil, to get more updates as they develop. But for now, please stay safe and also have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Moving on now, bandits on Tuesday abducted scores of passengers in 2 attacks along the Funtua-Gusau highway in Zamfara and Katsina states. Reports say 26 passengers were abducted by the bandits in Ungwarboka village of Faskari local government area of Katsina state. The passengers who boarded 2 commercial vehicles were headed for Gusau, Zamfara state capital from the Funtua axis when the unfortunate incident occurred. The second operation, according to the source, occurred at Gidan Kaji in Magazu village, Tafi local government area of Zamfara. According to the source, residents could not ascertain the number of passengers abducted at Gidan Kaji, but a Golf wagon car was found abandoned at the scene, which suggests that all the passengers on board were kidnapped. The police is yet to issue a statement on the incident. And meanwhile, troops of the Nigerian army on Tuesday neutralized 1 terrorist during clearance operations at Yadi Forest in Kaduna State. Despite the operations, the army, despite being ambushed by the terrorists, swiftly responded with heavy gunfire, neutralizing one of them while others scattered in disarray. The troops were said to have recovered 2 AK-47 rifles, 6 AK-47 magazines, 5 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, 331 rounds of 7.62mm by 54 PKT machine gun ammunition, and 2 PKT machine gun ammunition links. Others are 3 motorbikes, 2 power generating sets, 2 desert camouflage, a pair of desert boots, leg and hand chains used for fastening kidnapped victims, 9 Bofeng radios with 9 chargers, as well as 1 talisman vest, among others. The troops destroyed the terrorist camps, which were carefully concealed along the river lines. Authorities say the troops are still on the trail of the fleeing terrorists to rid the forest of terrorist activities in a renewed effort to restore peace and stability. In politics, the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, has been arrested in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Abure was arrested on Wednesday afternoon, according to the spokesperson for the Nigeria Police Force, Zone 5, Tijani Momo. Momo, however, did not disclose details of Abure's arrest as of press time. Viral videos showed Abure being manhandled by policemen, even as Labour Party supporters fought to prevent his arrest. Labour Party's national spokesman, Obiora Ifo, confirmed Abure's arrest in a statement, saying the party on Tuesday had a successful delegate election in Benin City ahead of the party primaries scheduled to hold on Friday. Abure was, however, arrested after the meeting by a combined team of DSS and police operatives. Ifo alleged that the arrest of the party's official was in connection to a protest letter by one of the expelled members of the party loyal to the Lamidi Apapa camp. And some currency exchange operators in the famous Kano currency exchange market, WAPA, have been arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. According to an eyewitness, Ismaila Zico, officials of the EFCC were at the market in the early hours of Wednesday. Zico said the operatives were so tactical in their operation that it was after the apprehension that they found out that they have been in the market since morning. When contacted, the WAPA currency exchange market chairman, Sani Salisu Dada, confirmed the raid, adding that the operatives of the EFCC were in the market to address the issue of dollar hoarding and operators that were yet to register as certified Bureau de Change operators. The operatives also raided Bureau de Change operators in Sabo, Ibadan, over alleged hike in the Naira-dollar exchange. The development comes after the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, ordered a crackdown on currency speculators. And also, the DSS has urged the organized labor to shelve its planned protest against the prevailing economic situation in the country. Labor leaders on Monday began mobilizing members for nationwide protests slated for February 27th and 28th over the cost of living crisis in the country. The protest, according to the labor leaders, followed the federal government's failure to fulfill its promises after the 14-day ultimatum. Reacting to the planned protest in a statement on Wednesday, the DSS, in a statement by its spokesperson, Peter Afunaya, urged the union to shelve the plan in the interest of peace and public order. The Secret Service urged the union to pursue dialogue and negotiation rather than engage in conduct that could heighten tensions in the country. And still on labor matters, President of the NLC, Joe Ajero, has dismissed the unsolicited advice of the Department of State Services for the organized labor to shelve its planned protest against the high cost of living in the country. Ajero, in a statement on Wednesday, insisted that the planned strike action will go ahead as it is a peaceful one against the unpardonable cost of living of which personnel of the service are also victims of. The NLC chairman said it was worrisome that the DSS, in spite of the indescribable suffering in the land, spiraling inflation, deepening poverty, and the naira at an exchange rate of 1,900 to the US dollar, wants labor to fold its arms and pretend that all is well. He said doing so will amount to a grievous conspiracy that history will not forgive. The DSS had urged the labor unions to shelve the planned protest in the interest of peace and public order, presupposing that the action is intended to be violent and disruptive. And so the cost of living in Nigeria, some residents of Jigawa State say they are now eating leaves to survive following their inability to afford food items in the market. Jigawa State is a predominantly agrarian state where farming is the major source of income and livelihood, but the high cost of food occasioned by rising inflation is taking a toll on the people. Residents, especially women, are now harvesting different leaves from trees around nearby bushes to feed their families. Some of the women who craved anonymity told Trust TV that the situation is getting out of hand, adding that if something is not urgently done to address the situation, many will start dying of starvation. And amidst the prevalent soaring prices in Nigeria, which has seen baking flour reaching 50,000 to 52,000 naira per bag and sugar escalating to 85,000 naira per bag, Nigeria's famous agege bread, popular in Lagos, has witnessed a significant rise in its prices. Presently, even the smallest loaf now sells for as high as 200 naira. Victoria Tokolo, who visited some bakeries in Agege, Lagos State, brings us some of the challenges confronting bakers producing this beloved Nigerian staple. Here's a report.
Agege bread, a cherished Nigerian staple renowned for its soft, stretchy and chewy texture, dominates the bustling streets of Nigeria, particularly in Lagos State. However, amidst the rising inflation gripping the nation's food markets, this iconic bread is not immune to changes in both its price and quantity, with the cost of flour now ranging from 50,000 naira to 52,000 naira per bag and yeast soaring to 2,200 naira per pack. At wholesale prices, the landscape of production is evolving. At some bakeries in Agege, where the aroma of this freshly baked bread wafts through the air, one encounters a challenging reality. Bakery owners are grappling with the scarcity of electricity, relying solely on generators to power their operations, among other challenges.
And the price of flour now is 52,000 naira. As at day yesterday it was 50, now it's 52. It goes high every day. And before we're buying at the rate of 32, 35 downwards. You understand? But now it's too expensive that you can't even buy a bag.
Agege bread holds a significant place in the lives of many Nigerians, particularly in urban centers such as Lagos State. It has become a vital source of income for numerous individuals and families, as it is hawked from street to street and house to house, serving as a daily staple for countless households. Retailers, hawkers and consumers alike share their perspectives on the prevailing economic impact on this beloved bread.
Not mistakenly, we buy this bread 15 naira, but now this bread is now 200 naira. This one, there's another one where you see it's not more, it's just bigger than this. It's 400 naira.
One of the biggest bread has just moved from 1,600 to 1,800.
That small one, they are selling that one 500 naira. We are selling it 600 naira. The others, they are selling it 600, 700.
That goes for 200 and just moved to 250 at the retail level.
At Mashallah Alaja in Agege, a hub for the procurement of ingredients essential for Nigeria's most beloved bread, flour sellers shed light on the escalating prices of these key components.
That's way beyond. That's like almost three times the price now. So it's really not easy.
Like sugar now, we buy sugar 85,000 naira now. It contains 11 plastic, sometimes 11 and a half plastic. So when we usually measure this thing, we got it at least now. We measure the back of plastic. At least we measured at least 8,500 naira, sometimes 8,000. That's where we in now.
Agege bread bakers, alongside retailers and consumers, are urging the federal government to consider reducing fuel prices, as the exorbitant cost of powering generators significantly contributes to the rising prices of bread in the state and in the country at large.
Also, long queues have emerged at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) filling stations amidst a fuel shortage crisis that has hit Nigeria's commercial city of Lagos. This comes as all private filling stations across the region have shut down operations, exacerbating the situation for local residents and business operators. Victoria Tokolo also visited several filling stations in the Ikeja axis of the state and brings us more in this report.
The scarcity of fuel has particularly impacted Nigerian business operators who are expressing anger and frustration over filling stations' refusal to sell fuel in handheld containers like gallons, a common method for those buying petrol outside cars and motorcycles. Currently, fuel is being sold exclusively to motorists at a rate of 715 naira and 815 naira per litre, while motorcyclists who rely on their bags for business face a higher price tag of 1,000 naira per litre. The disparity in pricing between those with cars and those with motorbikes has been a point of contention, with many questioning its fairness.
Sorry, I've been here, I would say about 3 to 4 hours now, patiently waiting for my turn to get fuel. And I believe it to get to my turn, I have no choice. So all other activities have been suspended for today.
It's 9:30, I don't buy 700 now for per litre, 700. They are selling only car. Before in the morning, they are selling keg. In the morning, they are selling for keg. Now they are stopping it now.
I bought the fuel, the rate of 586 naira. And I bought 25,000 naira.
It took me a long time to find this place. Somebody had to call me and tell me that there's some fuel here. Imagine how long I've been riding around looking for fuel to buy. Most filling stations are all closed down. So if there was to be an emergency or something is to happen now, how do we survive? Government needs to do something.
Business operators in particular are feeling the pinch as the inability to purchase fuel in containers has severely hampered their ability to operate efficiently.
Not long ago, all of a sudden we woke up and found out there is queue all over the filling station. So I took my car and instead because the queue is too long to be in the car. Only for me to get to the NNPC filling station here, and we're told that they're not going to sell it, but we can't.
I've been here since around 7. Fully different. You can see keg is lining up, and they are just selling for cars, bicycle, and whatever. I don't even know. And we are here since morning, and they are challenging us that they will not sell for keg. And as for me, I'm a stylist. I cannot bring my generator from my shop and my pipe for here. I only have the keg. I don't have a car. I don't have any other thing. So me that is running a business, how am I going to get fuel to run my business today?
Fuel for jerrycan, I use jerrycan, so they are not selling fuel for jerrycan.
With each passing day, the queues seem to grow longer with no immediate solution in sight.
And the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Science Engineering, Inu Agarba, has called on the federal government to investigate the privatization and concession of 22 out of its 33 silos across the country. The federal lawmaker who had brought the motion before the House at plenary titled "The Need to Investigate the Privatization and Concession of Federal Government Silos in Nigeria" thereafter briefed members of the House of Representatives Press Corps on the importance of the bill following the food crisis situation in the country. Garba urged the federal government to, as a matter of priority, consider subsidizing agriculture to revitalize the economy and improve food security in the country, stressing that Nigeria, with its population size, needs to have silos in all the states for food security. The federal government had in September 2017 commenced the process of concession of 22 out of its 33 silo complexes across the country to the private sector to ensure availability of affordable grains across the country. But today, none is functioning to meet the demand of citizens at this crucial time of hunger in the land.
When you when you buy the produce, you produce other things for the consumption of in Nigeria. So it's not. I don't think it is a problem for government to take it as a priority because of time like this. By looking at your face, you are not happy. I don't need to ask anybody, you are not happy. And I know what is itching you. Yes, we're all Nigerians. Is any one of you here very happy? No. From president to down, nobody is happy. Why? We don't prioritize our plans and programs. in government.
Nigerian senators on Wednesday unanimously kicked against plans to increase electricity tariff, describing the move as retrogressive and ill-timed. The upper chamber also mandated its Committee on Power to investigate the over 2 trillion naira subsidy requirements as alleged by the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu. Just a report.
After a robust debate on a motion by the senator representing Adamawa Central, Iya Abbas, during Wednesday's plenary, the lawmakers urged the federal government to immediately stand down the idea of an increase in electricity tariff in the country. Abbas explained that the indebtedness of the country's power sector to electricity generating companies and gas companies had risen to over 3 trillion naira.
The same electricity businesses are collecting money from customers for services not rendered, when they have not added anything to the equipment they inherited from PHCN. Communities buy transformers to replace damaged ones, in addition to overburden bills and arbitrary estimates.
Contributing to the motion, Senator Abba Moro, representing Benue South, said Nigeria must first be sufficient in generation and distribution of power before considering an increase in tariff.
I think our concern for this moment should be how to generate electricity and effectively, adequately distribute electricity. Most of the problems that we are having today, especially in the manufacturing sector of the economy, is as a result of low power.
On his part, the senator representing Sokoto South, Aminu Tambuwal, said removing subsidy on electricity at this time is an act of insensitivity, describing the move as adding petrol to fire.
And therefore, there is the need for the Senate to rise to this occasion and intervene. Let wisdom prevail in the governance of this country. We must manage the situation that we have at hand and make sure that as much as possible, we continue to give hope to the people of Nigeria.
The president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, in a remark aligned with his colleagues, noting that any increase will further throw Nigerians into untold hardship, especially now that they are grappling with hunger and high cost of living.
Due to the current cost of things across the country and the sufferings of people, and Nigerians are very worried about the following increases in products across the country, and urge the Committee on Power to work closely with the Minister of Power to ensure that the resolutions of the Senate are respected in order to ameliorate and reduce any contemplated suffering on consumers of electricity in the country.
The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, had last week disclosed at a press conference in Abuja that Nigeria was not likely to sustain the current electricity subsidy.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly. Mangu community leaders set conditions for lasting peace in the region. This and of course other stories after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with the News Hour on Trust TV. A look at the headlines again. Bandits attack Katsina community, kill 8, destroy properties in Kurfi local government. Labour Party chairman Julius Aburi arrested in Edo State. Moving on to other stories now. Religious and community leaders in Mangu town, situated in the Mangu local government area of Plateau State, where ethno-religious crisis erupted recently, have laid out conditions necessary for restoring peace in the region ravaged by violence amidst casualties and widespread property destruction. The leaders underscored that without adherence to these conditions, lasting resolutions remains elusive. Trust TV's Ado Musa, during his visit to Mangu, conversed with local residents, delving into the underlying causes of the crisis and strategies to prevent its reoccurrence. Take a look.
The recent surge in intertribal religious conflict has deeply unsettled hundreds of people across the state, especially given that the majority of inhabitants belong to either the Magavul or Fem tribes. Remarkably, within these tribes, many families practice both Islam and Christianity, fostering a unique coexistence that, according to some locals, had shielded the area from the ethno-religious turmoil affecting other parts of the state over the past 2 decades. However, the conflict that erupted on January 23rd and 24th in Mangu's main town shattered this long-standing peace. The visible destruction of churches, mosques, houses and businesses along the street underscores the extent of the damage inflicted on the community torn apart by religious tensions. This deterioration has strained relationships built over decades among residents.
But again, what happened in January that took a religious coloration? We've been trying to avoid that. As I've seated here, some of my brothers are Muslim. Blood brothers, they are Muslim. Can I tell? Like my cousin died last year in the Azare. He's living in Azare for more than 40 years, and he has really enculturated there. And I was there. Can I turn around begin to kill his children because they are Muslims? No. We have so many prominent sons and daughters who are Muslim. But like I said, very close to the town, there is a small settlement of cattle rearers there, or herdsmen there. And the conflict started with the one boy who was beaten and they thought they had killed him.
Community or Muslims are not included in the government. Probably Ward 1. You know, the reason is this. Ward 1 people are always against the general opinion of Magavu people because they are not included. They are not given opportunity to serve. They are not employed by the government. They are not considered. Even Magavu people, despite the relationship that has been there, they are even the economic aspect of the whole thing. They are kicking against, particularly the Ward 1, people that are living in Ward. In Ward 1, most of them are not houses.
Despite the recent events, the religious leaders expressed their continued desire for harmonious coexistence, emphasizing their willingness to live together peacefully if specific conditions are met.
If, first and foremost, we religious leaders will change our sermons either in the mosques or in the churches, because most of the time we send sermons and preachings that are contrary to the teachings of the Bible and Quran as well.
So first and foremost, the stakeholders must come together to now agree that this community must be mopped out of weapons. This is number one. If such is not done, that is why the youth don't even listen to their leaders, because they have weapons. Some people have provided weapons here. But how do we mop them out? We must agree military should come in. Once those weapons are mopped out, then the youth will become powerless and they have to obey the normal system in the community. This is number one. Number two, the government must take into account everybody, whether you are a settler, whether you are an indigent, whether you are what, you must be taken as part of the community, given a responsibility. Be considered a worthy citizen.
Dr. Abdurrahman Imran, a senior lecturer at the Center for Conflict Management and Peace Studies at the University of Jos, and a resource person at the Center for Peace and Initiative Development, highlighted the imperative for elites and government officials to shift their mindset in order to fulfill the necessary conditions for peace.
Issue there is that there's a kind of mindset of there will be peace as long as we maintain total control and we're able to show that this state is this. It's funny, but this is the real facts of issues that for us to have a lasting peace, the elite needs to change. Once the elite change, these people that are talking that we want peace and other things will follow suit if the core group want peace in Plateau.
Even though there is relative peace now in Mangu based on the current situation at the moment, members of the warring parties are still not comfortable of moving freely to all areas like before. With the suggestions on how to restore confidence among the people of this community, it is hoped that both the state and the federal government will do the needful to ensure mutual understanding among the people of the community. From Mangu, the headquarters of Mangu local government area of the state, Ado Musa reporting for Trust TV.
Thanks to Ado Musa for that report. And stakeholders in the security sector have been brainstorming ways to curb money laundering, terrorism financing, and counter the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction in Nigeria. Speaking to Trust TV's Neil Samson in Abuja, some of the stakeholders say ending terror financing will require concerted efforts towards ending kidnapping for ransom, cattle rustling, extortion, protection levies, illegal money transmission to businesses and individuals, as well as drugs and human trafficking. Here's the report.
The idea behind combating terrorism financing is to disrupt and prevent the incidence of terrorist activity. An additional reason for combating the financing of terrorism is that the use of the financial system by the criminals engaged in money laundering and terrorist financing may threaten the stability of the financial system and the economy at large. Hence, the need to adopt effective strategies as well as evolve ways of ensuring effective implementation of those strategies.
Anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism, counter-proliferation financing, all the stakeholders, all the relevant agencies who are involved in the fight against terrorism and terrorist financing and money laundering. This strategy helps to understand the roles we have to play. It helps us to cooperate, it helps us to coordinate, it helps us to collaborate with one another so that we can actually represent Nigeria in the financial crimes fight.
The anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing fight requires a high level and high power commitment. The Interministerial Committee is the highest decision-making body responsible for formulating of policies and procedures, and also monitoring the implementation of various AMS CFT procedures put in place.
Is an agreement on the way that all of government and all of its agencies in Nigeria can work together to make sure that we tighten the rope on the neck of those who think they can move illicit money, illegal money, criminal money, anyhow within our economy. And therefore, it will help us get better, safer, and help our economy improve.
Between 2007 and 2019, the economic impact of terrorism in Nigeria reached approximately $142 billion, by far the largest value in Africa. This many believe is the reason why the battle against anti-money laundering, countering terrorism financing, as well as countering the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction should be taken seriously. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
To other stories in the news, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has cautioned religious leaders to adhere to the teachings of the Holy Book, which frowns at violent extremism and terrorism. Governor Zulum stated this during the presentation of a unified curriculum for Islamic schools by the Tangaya Education Board at the Government House in Maiduguri. The curriculum aims to counter violent extremist ideologies among youth in Borno, while emphasizing the need to promote teachings and preachings based on the content of the holy books. Governor Zulum assured that his administration will ensure that all Islamic schools adhere to the new unified curriculum. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Arabic and Tangaya Education Board, Khalifa Sheikh Ali, who said the document centered on the Maliki school of thought, called on stakeholders to support the new curriculum and promote quality Islamic education in Borno State.
In line with the board's mandate, this curriculum was developed based on the Imam Malik madhab to harmonize the teaching and learning in all Islamic schools. The curriculum contains subjects such as Arabic, Quran, Fiqh, Hadith, Sirah, and Tawhid. Today, as we celebrate the presentation of the Borno State Unified Curriculum, we also reflect on the journey that has led us to this moment.
We are very much aware of what has been happening in Borno State. The so-called Boko Haram insurgency was started as a result of improper preaching. Furthermore, we are also witnessing another development in Borno State in recent days. Preaching by some scholars within the state is also a matter of great concern to all of us. And therefore, the government of Borno State will do everything possible to ensure that teaching and preaching by scholars is in compliance with the contents of our holy book.
And the Abia State government has advised residents to adhere to the recommendations by the experts, especially from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, in order to curb the threat associated with the recent heat wave. The State Commissioner for Environment, Philemon Ogbonna, in a statement on Wednesday, reassured residents of the state government's commitment to their welfare and security and reminded them that health is wealth, and as such, they should do all they can to live a healthy life. The commissioner encouraged Abia residents to follow NIMET's advice for people to drink more water and stay hydrated, avoid more consumption of alcoholic and caffeinated beverages, reduce intake of food rich in proteins because they increase metabolic activities, take cold bath before going to bed at night, and monitor their blood pressure always, among others. The state government said the advisory became imperative as adverse effects of the current situation may cause dehydration, which can lead to fainting, spread of chickenpox, heat rashes, mental stress, skin cancer, meningitis, and death in the worst case scenario. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV, and up next is the Business Update with Yusuf standing by.
Welcome to Business News. I am Yusuf Akogu. Nigeria's crude oil production, including condensate, increased 5.85% month-on-month, reaching 1.64 million barrels per day in January 2024, up from 1.5 million barrels per day in December 2023. Excluding condensate, the production rose to 1.4 million barrels per day compared to 1.34 million barrels per day in the previous month. Further analysis of the data showed that production from Boni Terminal increased by 9.25% to 6.94 million barrels in January 2024 from 6.35 million barrels in December 2023. For Kado Terminals, crude oil production increased by 4.51% to 8.75 million barrels in January from the 8.37 million barrels produced in the previous month, while Escravos Terminal produced 4.24 million barrels in January, an increase of 3.55% from the 4.09 million barrels produced in December 2023. HSBC said on Wednesday that it has achieved record profit in 2023 as pre-tax gains soared by nearly 80%, with the banking giant also announcing further share buybacks. The Asia-focused lender and its peers have been buoyed by rising interest rates for more than a year, but are bracing for greater economic uncertainties in 2024. The bank generates most of its revenue in Asia and has spent several years pivoting to the region, vowing to develop its world business and target fast-growing markets. Despite bumper profits, HSBC noted that the effect of China's slower than expected economic recovery after COVID-19 pandemic, as well as heightened geopolitical tensions. HSBC, in a statement to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, reported pre-tax profits of $30.3 billion, up from $17.1 billion in 2022. Profit after tax increased by $8.3 billion to $24.6 billion, while revenue rose by 30% to $66.1 billion. Now to the stock market. Nigeria's equities market rebounds on Wednesday after 2 days of negative trading sessions. Let's see how it looked like today. Some gaining equities that we see today, 9.96% gain recorded by FBN, First Bank of Nigeria, holding there, followed by Julie 9.60%, and of course Mutual Benefit, an insurance company, also gaining 9.38%. And of course this has increased the market in terms of capitalization, and indeed the on-share index by a little over 300 basis points to 0.3% at the close of business today. Volume of trade 294.910 million shares, value at 6.448 billion naira in a deal of 8,448 did exchange hands among investors today. Top trading equities today, FBN also leading the chart there, 39.378 million shares it traded. Japan Gold 30.19 million shares, and of course Transcorp Nigerian PLC 27.362 million shares as well. Of course, we have some stocks that didn't do well today. They closed on the negative side. Okumu Oil leading that chart there by 10%. Cornerstone, an insurance company, also down 10%. Of course, Conhop PLC down 10% indeed as well. These are the highlight of the stock trading as it went down this Wednesday on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Let's look at the stock market in Africa and the rest of it. Now to the FX market. The Nigerian Naira on Wednesday edges closer to 2,000 to the US dollar at the parallel section of the foreign exchange market. The local currency have declined by 9.83% so far this week. Let's see how it traded today. And finally, in business, oil prices extended losses from the previous session on Wednesday as growing expectation that cuts to U.S. interest rates would take longer than expected outweigh ongoing concern over attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. And in London market, the Brent crude sells for $81 per barrel. For the oil basket, price steadies at $82 per barrel. That's business. I am Yusuf Akogu.
Thanks to Yusuf for business. And on the international scene, a judge in Haiti responsible for investigating the July 2021 assassination of President Jovenel Moïse has indicted his widow, Martine Moïse, ex-Prime Minister Claude Joseph, and the former chief of Haiti's National Police, Leon Charles, among others, according to a report obtained Monday, February 19th. The judge stated in his report that Martine Moïse suggested she took refuge under the Marshall bed to protect herself from the attackers, but he noted that authorities at the scene found that not even a giant rat whose size measures between 35 and 45 centimeters could fit under the bed. The judge said the former First Lady's statements were so tainted with contradictions that they leave something to be desired and discredited her. Dozens of suspects were indicted in the 122-page report. Ex-Prime Minister Claude Joseph and the former chief of Haiti's National Police, Leon Charles, who is Haiti's serving representative to the Organization of the American States, are among those indicted. And in Senegal, 15 out of the 20 candidates approved to contest in the delayed presidential elections have united in a call for the vote to be conducted no later than April 2nd, coinciding with the end of President Macky Sall's term. These candidates, including notable figures like Bassirou Diomaye Faye and former Dakar Mayor Khalifa Sall, emphasized the importance of adhering to the electoral schedule and insisted that the candidate list should remain unchanged. President Sall's proposal to postpone the elections for several months to resolve disputes over candidates' eligibility faced a setback when the country's highest court deemed the delay unconstitutional. In response, Sall expressed his commitment to organizing the elections as soon as possible. Amidst these developments, protests have erupted in Dakar, with demonstrators urging President Sall to expedite the electoral process. Hundreds of people took to the streets, chanting slogans against Sall's perceived authoritarian tendencies and demanding the release of imprisoned opposition figures. The postponement of the presidential election, initially scheduled for February 25th, stirred controversy, leading to clashes between protesters and security forces. The Constitutional Council's ruling against the delay underscored the imperative of holding timely and transparent elections to uphold democratic norms in Senegal. Let's now join Emmanuel Fashimi for Sports News.
The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) has announced the kickoff date for the 2024 Federations Cup. Nigerian Premier Football League side Bendel Insurance won the last edition of the competition, beating Enugu Rangers International in the final played in Lagos. According to an update from the NFF, the state preliminaries will run from the 1st to the 31st of March. All states are expected to have completed their finals on or before the 31st of March in order to allow the NFF to prepare for the national finals. Bayern Munich manager Thomas Tuchel will leave the club at the end of the season. The 50-year-old replaced Julian Nagelsmann in March 2023, but the former Chelsea boss will depart a year earlier than planned as part of a sporting realignment at Bayern. He led Bayern to last season's Bundesliga title after taking over in the spring, but they now sit 8 points behind leaders Bayer Leverkusen after back-to-back league defeats. One of those was an emphatic 3-0 loss to Bayer Leverkusen, and they were also beaten 1-0 by Lazio in the first leg of their Champions League last 16 tie. Bayern CEO Jan-Christian Dressen said both parties agreed to mutually end their collaboration following an open good conversation. The German, who won the Champions League with Chelsea in 2021, oversaw a quarter-final defeat at the hands of eventual winners Manchester City in Europe last season. However, his Bayern side were able to pick Borussia Dortmund the final day of the Bundesliga campaign because their rivals drew 2-2 at home to Mainz to seal an 11th straight German title. Egypt, Africa's only surviving team at the ongoing ITTF World Team Table Tennis Federation Championship on Wednesday, February 21st, exited the tournament after an impressive outing in Busan, South Korea. The Egyptian ladies, led by 6-time African champion Dina Masref, worked their way to the second round after finishing second in their group, which includes France, Czech Republic, Ukraine, and Croatia. Apart from losing to France 3-0, the Egyptian ladies defeated the 3 European side to finish second behind France as the only African team that progressed to the second round of the competition. They were then set up against Chile in the round of 32, and in their usual style, they made no mistake in beating the South American side 3-0 to advance to the last 16 of the tournament. Drawn against emerging European heavyweight Romania, the Egyptian ladies wanted to show their quality against the Romanian girls, but the experience of their opponents came to fore through their top star Benedetti Souza, who was tested by teenage sensation Anna Goda. All efforts of the young African champion were thwarted by the European star, who claimed a hard-fought 3-1 to set the lead for Romania. Despite taking an early 2-0 lead against veteran Elisabetta Samara, Masaref could not maintain her lead as she was beaten 3-2. Following the early exit of most African teams in the competition, Nigeria's legend Segun Toriola has attributed this to lack of preparation. And that is sports. I am Emmanuel Fashimi.
And that wraps up the news hour on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all of our social platforms and also catch our live stream on YouTube for more news programs and documentaries. I'm Sakir Ibrahim. Have a good evening.